Hi, my name is Chris, and I'm going to help you with installing the below deck storage locker. You need quite a bit of tools to do this. First of all, the template comes in the kit. That's going to help a lot. You're going to need something to actually drill holes into the van. You're going to need preferably a jigsaw to actually drill the locker out, or cut the locker out. Something to smooth the hole. We use a grinder here. To actually install the locker once you got the holes cut and everything is real easy. It's just a 4mm Allen wrench and an 11mm wrench, just tightening some bolts. Yeah, and you need some eye protection. That's always good to have. Some primer, because when you're cutting into a van, you don't want it to rust, so make sure to prime it after you cut it. And then, yeah, the kit comes with all the pieces. Comes with the door, the outer trim ring, and the inner trim ring, which is actually a couple pieces, so you can actually get it inside the hole once you cut it. All right, first step is the template. You want to make sure your van's kind of clean on the lower portion right here behind the rear tire. We're doing the passenger side today. That's why we have the passenger side template. So template, some tape, and you're just gonna go down here, and it has some contours in the body, and you kind of want to stay away from those because the storage locker trim is flat and it's not gonna like all the contours in the body. So you want to put this up and make sure you're kind of got a gap in between the top contour and the bottom. And then once you kind of get it somewhere that you like it, throw a piece of tape on it. So I want to move it a little forward, so I'm going to untape it, move it. That's looking better. All right, I'm throwing some more tape on there to get it to lay flat. All right, that's pretty good right there. So second step is we're going to mark all the holes that you want to drill to actually mount the plates together on the van. So I'm going to use a punch. That makes it the easiest because then you don't have to cut holes in the paper or anything like that. So you just go where you want it, right in the center. It's marked for you with a cross. Go in there, give it a nice push. I always do 2 to just make sure, and we're gonna do all of them all the way around. So now that we got all the holes punched, we can remove the template. They're kind of hard to see in the camera probably, but there's like little indents everywhere we need to drill. All right, next thing, we got to drill those holes that we marked, so eye protection. Make sure you don't get any metal in your eye. It's never fun. With the little punch, it makes it pretty easy to drill these holes because it kind of grabs the bit where you want it. If you're just using a marker, you kind of have to be pretty careful with drilling the hole. You want to go pretty slow, but just try to make it as straight as you can. All right, now that you drilled your holes, we're gonna put the actual template up with some bolts in it, just so you can mark out the center hole that you want to actually cut out. So you want to hold it up, and then I'm going to put some bolts in there without the nuts on the back, just so it stays in place, and I'm going to mark the center. All right, now that I got the template up with a couple screws in it, they're just in there loose, just so it kind of lines up while you're holding it. I got one in the top, a couple in the corners. I'm just going to hit the inside of the whole trim ring. And it doesn't have to be like perfectly straight because once we cut it, we're gonna grind it down and kind of clean up the cut. All right, now I'm gonna drill a couple of bigger holes in a couple of the corners just so I can get the blade of the jigsaw in there and then cut it out. So now I'm gonna tape around the edge where I'm gonna cut, just so I don't scratch all the paint up. Just another step just to make it come out a lot nicer. So just put tape all around it. Try not to cover your line. You want to cover all this plastic stuff that scratches real easy. Now we just cut out the hole that we marked. It kind of starts flopping around with the blade cutting, so I just put an extra piece of tape on it just to hold it steady from flapping as much while you're cutting the rest of it out. All right, now we got a big hole in the van. So now I take all the tape off around it and then grind it and get these corners pretty good. And you kind of want to make sure all of your mark is gone that you used or you marked to cut the hole, because you want the metal a little bit past the trim ring. So you want it on the outside of your actual line that you made. So take all the tape off and we'll grind it. So I'm not the best with the jigsaw, so these corners aren't looking too good and this line isn't that straight, so I'm gonna use the grinder to straighten it all up and get these corners nice. So after you grind it a little bit, get rid of your line, you want to hold up the trim ring and kind of see if there's going to be any metal showing, because you want the metal of the van behind the trim ring lip, just so you don't see it. And once you're happy with that, then you get like a deburr tool and you want to get all these burrs off of here. It just makes it a lot cleaner and safer to work with. So just get all that stuff off of there. Scrape it around. You can also get the holes that you drilled out. Sometimes they don't come out that clean. Get rid of that excess metal. And then once you got that all taken care of, you're gonna wanna prime all the edges and all the holes as well, just so the van doesn't rust. All right, so now that you have everything primered up, get the rings, the inner ring and the outer ring, and we're gonna bolt it all together. So you gotta kind of fish the inner ring in there, line it up a little bit, and then push the outer ring on top of it. So put a bolt in one of these holes. Just wanna thread it in just a little bit so it holds. Might need to use the 4mm to press it together. Just get it started. And once you get that one, then you can move it however you need it and bolt the rest up. All right, now that all the screws are in, well, most of them, I put them all in except for the hinge screws, because I do those ones last, because they actually get different hardware, which the outer plate or all the other screws get the smaller length of screw, and then the hinges, they need a longer screw because the hinge goes on top, so it needs to be longer. So now take the screws, fish them through, do the same thing, but just with the hinge on it. I wouldn't tighten these all the way down yet until you get the door on. All right, so the last step, after you get the hinges where you want them, they're still a little loose, so we can play with the door once we put it on. So now put a screw through the hinge, then through the door, and then a nut, and then screw it all together. All right, you can close it. See if the gap's pretty good all the way around the door. See if it locks and actually shuts. And now just tighten up the screws. You're all good to go. Once you get all the bolts tightened up, give it a close. Make sure it closes nice, gets inside the ring, locks in place, and there it is. There's the below deck storage locker.